Right. Looks like we're live again. Yes, we are. So we're good to go. How you doing, everybody? Once again, live streaming from planet Earth. And all things human design as it flows through me, unrehearsed, unplanned, without an agenda. Let's see what comes up. I'm also always surprised by the fact. Why human design? Why should you care? Why should anybody care about human design? Well, if you care about yourself, if you care about the ones around you, then human design is a gift that is waiting to be unwrapped by you. By you. Nobody else can do that for you. And I've come to the grips of understanding throughout my journey of delving into life, self-discovery, as we all live the life. For many of us, the journey of life, it's about self-discovery and come into this magnificent, absolutely out of this world, literally out of this world, sort of like dropped to us like, hey, humanity, things are changing fast and dramatically, and nobody can tell you nor will care for you going into the future very soon. So you better be equipped. Or now, all of this comes with one truth of life that I've had to learn the hardest ways possible. And I'm sure everybody has their own challenges with this, and that being of acceptance. Just the word in itself, acceptance. We seek validation from others, and we think that that is a form of acceptance. Other people accept me. No, that is seeking validation. That is trying to prove your worth. And we can see that through human design, the open ego heart center, 2/3 of the planet. I've mentioned this in the previous lives. I highly recommend, if this is attractive to you, or you're drawn to my energy and the words and the content that comes out, look at the other live streams also, because we've dived deep there too. But today is going to be about, again, I don't know, but acceptance is where we start from. And funny enough, we are at a point of the year that we considered 31st of December, the Gregorian calendar, to be the end of the year. And then we have the midnight of 31st. And then we go into 1st of January and we celebrate the so-called New Year that we have been programmed and conditioned and indoctrinated into actually believing that it's an actual New Year. While once we dive into human design, which is connected to our, what we now call genetics, through the 64 I Ching gates, hexagrams around the wheel, we learned that actually 31st of December is not, or 1st of January is not our new year. It is not. And that is why we see that I think some statistics show about 95% of the New Year's resolutions are broken by end of January. And imagine you, I, and 2/3 of the planet having an open ego heart center, which I'm pointing to right now in the screen. And the key point here is proving your worth. So 2/3 of the planet have an open ego heart center, meaning they're going to have an amplified sense of having to prove your worth, whilst that 2/3 of the planet who have an open ego heart center cannot hold on to promises most of the time. And guess what that does to your self-esteem, to your sense of worth? Well, haven't we all been there? So imagine 2/3 of the planet if you happen to be one of those and you make a New Year's resolution at a time, first of all, you're not here to make promises, not even to yourself. That's not your journey in this life. Leave that to the other one third who have a defined ego heart center. And even for them, it has to be in a correct way for them through their strategy and inner authority. You know, anybody who comes into human design, you know that the main point of human design is strategy and inner authority. Because if you don't go with that, the rest is just mental stuff. And while it is deeply attractive and seductive to get all these aspects of life, understanding life better through the mind, but unless you actually apply it through strategy and inner authority, it will not go to the level of the body. Therefore, it will not actually make a transformation possible for you. So it has to go deep into your cellular level, and no closing your eyes and thinking about, I'm now going to be transformed, is not going to do it. Trust me or not, been there, done that. And learning through those processes to come to the point of acceptance. But before we, you see, I'm talking about two things, but they are interconnected. So we start the so-called new year, I'm going to call it the so-called, which we think is the new year, making promises. 2/3 are not here to make promises, making promises at a time where it is not about new beginnings, because we haven't even finished the cycle yet. And I think they've said it that, was it the 17th or 19th? Some sources quote different dates, but essentially it's about this time of the year is where the majority of the New Year's resolutions have been broken. So let's try to understand this through the lenses of the mandala, the wheel, the 64 hexagrams, the human design system, which is equal to our genetics, all right? So we then learn that what we consider to be the new year is actually where it falls in the wheel here, gate 38. And gate 38, if one knows the story of what is behind these gates, you'd learn that gate 38 is not about completion. And I'm quoting the founder messenger of the human design system, Ra Orohu. When you are at the so-called new year, it is about reflecting back and, have I found for that year, did you find your purpose? Not purpose as in the grail of purpose, but rather the past year, did you get closer to your purpose? Whatever purpose means in that year for you. Did you find not about making new promises, because the year has not ended yet when we are at the so-called new year, but our genetic solar new year has not started. And anybody who, I'm not I'm not a geneticist, but I do know a little bit about, and learning through Ra Oroho from the human design system, that we have what's called the start codon and the stop codon. And we have a few of the stop codons, meaning end of story, but we also have only one start codon. This is our true new cycle beginning of the year. And guess where that falls? Not gate 38, which is a so-called new year that we consider. Happy New Year, not then. Not even gate 54, which is about, okay, now once you understand, okay, your purpose, new year, has your purpose been found? Have you found spirit? Then you move to gate 54. Gate 54 is about ambition. Have you found the alliances, the people who will help you to fulfill your ambition in achieving your purpose? Not even about making any promises yet. And then we move to 61st gate, and every gate is about 6 days in length. So they're not quite a week of what we consider our week, but it is a Rave human design week. It's the lines of the gate, 6 lines. So it's roughly 6 days, roughly. So this is New Year's. Then we come into gate 61 after finding or considering, have we found the people to align with, to ally with, to fulfill our ambitions? gate 54. Then we move to gate 61. And remember, these are always in polarities, right? When you have this, you have the opposite, gate 62. So then you have inner truth. But after that, you also have to have facts of gate 62. Do you have the details to move forward? And where we are right now, where most people break their promises or resolutions, and no surprise, it's at gate 60, where we are right now at the time of recording, 20th January 2025. And this is called gate of limitation. This is the actual fuel of limitation. Usually we consider fuel as something that pushes us forward. So when you hear that this is a fuel of limitation, it's sort of like, what's going on here? But the thing is, this limitation is teaching us so much about life. And another name for it, directly from the source, not this other stuff that people now have added to all these namings of these gates. This is from the source, from Rauruhu. Gate of limitation is also called the gate of acceptance. You see where we come now to. We have a few more days of this left, today and tomorrow, until evening Europe time. So it actually says in this gate, in the complete Rave I Ching book from Rauruhu, acceptance by the universe, by the totality, leads to transcendence. This is where we have to understand and come to the point. Have to is, well, if we're lucky, right? Because we don't have choice. You are going to experience whatever you're going to experience. But obviously, either within ourselves or around us, we are now experiencing limitation. Hence, New Year's resolutions being broken at this time, the vast majority by this time already. So don't make New Year's resolutions, even if you have a defined heart center and you are here to make promises and resolutions. Wait until the genetic New Year starts at gate 41. But right now, it's about accepting your individual limitation and the individual limitations of others around you. Because this is part of the, if you look at the gate 60 in the body graph, from the wheel, we now go into the body graph. You see that it's in the root center and it's part of the individual knowing circuit. So limitation is individual. And, I've learned so much from Rauruhu and the human design system, learning that we have an absolute biasness to words. Pardon me, I have to, don't have a mouse here, accepting my limitation. There you go. So accepting and limitation, we have such a word bias into, okay, this is a good word, this is a bad word, but then it depends really of who you ask, because good, bad is all subjective, Limited. We look at, everybody has a car or has driven a car or knows what a car is, obviously. So you see that some of the models, if you've, been interested in cars, it says limited edition. Limited edition is actually not even the base model. It's actually something more premium than that. But it is limited, meaning there's only a limited quantity of these. And in your case, and in my case, as an individual, there's only one of this model, not even a few. Yes, we may share the profiles, we may share the types, generator, manifestor, projector, reflector, or anything from the profiles of 1 to 6. However, this is a limited edition, and you are a limited edition. Even when you are at your, what you consider perfection, the perfection of the individual is here to live the limited edition of ourselves, of our unique limited edition. And it only is possible when we accept ourselves fully, all that so-called bad things too. Accepting yourself fully is a path to transcendence. Only way for you to achieve or be in a state of transcendence is through acceptance of your own limitations. And then gradually, once we do start from ourselves, then it's about accepting the limitations of others. I am what I am, you are what you are. I may change or not. I'm still a limited edition. I may look like I have improved or not. I am still a limited edition. So it's not about striving for something that you are not. So if you ever hear anything human design related, or, you know, how to say this, add-ons to what actually human design is, and then say, okay, this is a low vibration and then you have to reach a high vibration. No. Accepting your limitations is the only way to transcendence. To becoming truly yourself, you have to accept yourself. To love yourself, it cannot be, oh, let me hug myself. All of these practices, they're good, they're fine. Do them if you're attracted and drawn to them. This is not to, belittle anything, but rather to say that unless we accept ourselves fully, there is no way to love in ourselves. And if we don't accept ourselves and love ourselves, there is no way we should even, it's just a mind game if we say, I love you, you love me, I accept you, you accept me. No. Do you accept me for all the so-called flaws I have? When you do the pros and cons, do you accept all of it? Or you're like, yeah, I wish he or she would change this, or I don't like this about myself. I'm not enough. Open ego heart center. I need to be better. It's okay to be better. I go to the gym. I take care of the body because I love my body. Because the body is the vehicle through which I can actually experience life. So naturally, that's part of me loving myself, but not because I want to look better so other people like me more, because then I have not accepted myself. So you can have two people go to the gym. One of them looks much better than the other, but the one that looks better is not doing it for themselves, is doing it to get some sort of validation and so-called what we now have been identifying with acceptance. No, no, no. If you love me, you will accept me fully. But then we can't really go at other people to be like, I am what I am, you have to accept me. No, do you accept you? This is part of my journey too. And do I accept the fact that I'm at a physical, mature age, 41, close to my Uranus opposition, which is a major transformative time? Do I accept myself and accept the fact that I have layers of conditioning, as do you, which is just part of life? No victim mentality needed here. It all happened so we can get to here. And it all was correct that it happened the way it happened. It's not about looking backwards and be like, I wish this, I wish that, I miss this, I don't want that. No, acceptance. I was trying to say, should I plan for this? And I've said before, I don't plan for these lives, but as like at least something. But obviously we're seeing where this is going, because also the sun right now is in the gate of limitation, in the gate of acceptance. And about 36 hours from now, we're going to have gate 41. So we're going to have a shift. We're going to have an actual new year, our solar genetic new year, starting from gate 41. And it's so interesting. Guess what it starts with? And it's in the root center also. Ra Orohu mentioned that the 9 gates of the root center itself is a pressure cooker center. All of them are pressure gates, fuel gates that actually live in the other processes of the body graph. So it's very underrated relative to the other centers. Again, we mentioned this before that no center is more valuable. However, the root center is not really understood, therefore underrated for what it actually does to the entire process of the human experience, all of it, whether it's the logical way or the experiential way, the human experiential way, which the new year actually starts with. So gate 41 is right here at the bottom on the right of the root, and right here in the very beginnings of Aquarius. It's called the gate of contraction, the gate of decrease. The gate of decrease. We start the new year with a gate that sounds, which is our start codon in our genetic sequencing. So it always starts with this in our genes. For anything to start, it starts with this. That doesn't mean you have to have this personally in your body graph. No. This is a life process. And it starts what's called the human experiential way. Gate 41, gate 30, gate 36, and gate 35. This is the human experiential way. So the new year starts with fantasizing. And gate 41 is this gate where every possible fantasy that a human can have, you see all those movies, everything comes from gate 41. This is not to say that all of them become possibilities and realities. No, these are fantasies. So we start the new year with this fantasizing gate, right? But the gate itself is called contraction or decrease. So endless possibilities, endless fantasies, right? That can be eventually possibilities. But here it starts with no, none of that, not all of that. One experience at a time. This is the new year start. One experience at a time. So the contraction decrease is actually part of teaching us that to maximize the potential by limiting the resources, limiting the fantasies, limiting the possibilities. Funny enough, how the gate before that is the gate of limitation, but it's about the individual. This one is about the collective human experience. So this period of the new year, it's about, and Raoru explained how in the ancient Chinese I Ching, where this comes from, the image or the symbolism of this was the gardener cutting the extra leaves or the branches of the tree, and then basically all the possibilities, all the potential is still retained by the tree, but it's focused on maximizing its potential. So it's not going to 100 different branches. And if anybody has, grown any kind of vegetables or trees or any type of, garden-like setup, you'll understand that there is this pruning, this cutting process every now and then. And while it seems counterproductive, it actually allows for the maximization of potential overall for the tree or for the plant. Same thing here with the human experiential way. So I hope this teaches us that this whole fear of missing out, this FOMO, this going with with the wave of what the world says you should be or do, that it actually isn't like that. To truly be in the human experiential way, it starts with contraction. And then eventually we can get to moving. But you see, it doesn't immediately go to the next process of, targeting it into one absolute feeling, because it's about feeling. So you see, feeling becomes so important for the human experience for the new human experience also to actually have this burning desire. Now, obviously, when we talk about desire, it can have also sexual connotations. So if you have gate 41, gate 30, gate 36, gate 35, there are sexual themes there, but it is not about loving the other. It's about a new experience that needs to be had, that may be fulfilled sexually, or that may be fulfilled in other ways that has nothing to do with sexuality. But this is a collective process. This is that kind of process experience where once you have it, it goes into the collective unconscious bank. It's like, okay, humanity now has experienced this one. And then somebody eventually in the process will retell it as a storyteller. I'm one of those storytellers when you have gates 1156, you know. So that's the channel of the seeker. We seek ideas to stimulate with you. So you start believing into something, so it starts stimulating you into going into a process that may be correct for you or not. So always take whatever anybody says with a bit of a grain of salt. This is why the human design system came to this. It isn't just about storytelling. While it is magnificent to understand the life processes, yes, we can go through all the entire wheel and understand how this all flows, and then look at the body graph, how the circuitries flow, and they are beautiful. Some of them may relate to your design, which is for you to have that experience. Some of them may not be yours. So, again, it is about accepting your limited version, about exalting and loving your limited version, not seeking that which you are not, which genetically we are for now still programmed. So we reproduce. So that's seeking something that you are not. You know, they say opposites attract. It is an absolute truth on a genetic level, for now at least. Absolutes, no, not absolutes attract, opposites attract. It is true on a genetic level, and we can see that. We call it electromagnetism. You have one gate of the channel, let's say gate 41, and the other one has gate 30, and together, that's a love and hate. So you're either attracted to each other, as we are in the beginning in relationships, and we call it love, we call it the one, we call it my twin flame. You can call it whatever you've been calling it, but this is an electromagnetism where the program, the matrix, the Maya wants you to reproduce. So it has so many different variations, you know, genetic variations. So it has different possibilities of, let's see what life is. There is no preference to this type or this nation or this gender or this age. No, it's just about numbers. And we've had an explosion of population on this planet until now. And for most of us who are aware, it's about 8 billion, right? 8 billion. We've never had as many people on the planet, even born collectively, as we have people now that are alive on the planet. You can do the research. And this has all been initiated by the experiential way, which starts with the New Year gate, the start code on gate 41. That starts with these fantasies. You know, the difference of us humans relative to other creatures is that other creatures have one hunger. They have the hunger for food, you know, food, survival. We, as a species, we have the other type of hunger that we see, that this human experiential way, listen, human experiential way. You know, we can have different forms, different animals, creatures. We can see all of their design within the body graph, although there is not a 64 gate matrix, theirs is more limited. And this human experiential way is particularly only for humans. So, in that sense, we have another hunger, which is the hunger for a new experience. That can be to go across the ocean as Columbus. This is gate 35, going for change, for progress, you know, and experiencing the crisis of inexperience, a new experience that you don't know what may happen, gate 36. But before any of this was possible, you had to have a burning, clinging fire that is gate 30. recognizing a feeling that is like you must satisfy this. And this starts from gate 41. So I went backwards with this. And if you could just do the same thing going forward, you realize where when we go across the ocean to the unknown, this is how it starts. Or it can be a sexual experience that once you have the experience, you have the orgasm and it's done. Then you don't want that necessarily anymore. So if you have a channel or gates in this 41, 30, 36, 35, that means that if you only have that and you don't have, let's say, the 39, 55 or 22, 12, which is part of romance, then you're here really about desire for a new experience that may be with another person sexually or another person to go across the other side of the continent and occupy it and dominate it and control it and build a civilization and so on and so forth. So we humans, let's not judge the other because they are not like us, because they cannot be like us. You are a limited version. They don't need to be like us. They are also a limited version. You can give a positive connotation to this word, like a limited edition, or you can give a negative connotation, like, oh, we cannot do everything like other people. Yeah, of course you can do. We're not here to be everything for everyone. We're here to be ourselves. But in truth, this is part of the acceptance, which I've learned through dive into human design, is if you happen to be an adult and you hear about human design, consider yourself one of the lucky ones to have the chance of even getting into your own experiment, which starts from follow your strategy and inner authority. But in truth, I've learned to accept that all the people around me, except with a few exceptions, everybody has their own time, and most people, this is not the time for them to receive this knowledge. And yet, once we learn to accept that, we learn that in time, everybody has their divine timing, right? In time, this is not a time that they can even control, nor you can even control. This is one of the hardest things for people to accept. Accept your limitation, that you fall where you fall. That's it. But in time, certain people who it is meant for, they come back and they may have first rejected what you said, like, no, don't tell me about this. And then they come back as you now are embodying what you were talking about instead of just talking about it, Because for me, before I started embodying human design, I would keep studying, researching, and talking about it. Hey, this is this way, this is that way. But I wasn't embodying it myself by following my strategy and inner authority. So the energy that I was vibrating at was the not self generator, which is that of frustration. And as a manifesting generator, add the anger or even amplify it to rage. So a rageful, frustrated manifesting generator. So naturally, when you say something to people, it's not gonna be received well. And plus the fact that it's not necessarily their time. So it's not about you or I taking it personal either. It's about accepting yours and their limitation, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That not, when you say limitation, it does not diminish the person or yourself. For example, I'll dive into this to give you an actual example what this means for somebody like me. And when I say somebody like me, this can as much as apply to you. Like, again, we go to the body graph. Now, let's see if we get a little update. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. So a person asked in the comments in the previous video if we can talk about variables. It's a video unto itself, to be honest with you. But, pardon me, this is about accepting our limitations, right? And loving ourselves within our limited edition, the body. So you see this, these are called the variables. One of the things that we learn from human design, that the key thing that to start with, that gives you the keys of strategy and inner authority, is understanding your type. Type is for the form, for the body. So as Ra Uruhu would say, variables, these arrows, not all software or applications will actually show this. So make sure you get this when it is correct for you, but there is no bypassing. If you don't live by strategy and inner authority, I'll be honest with you, don't even go there, okay? Don't forget these variables if you're not living by your strategy and inner authority, at least for a little while. And when I say little while, I'm not talking hours or days. Give it time. But because we're always in such a hurry, we think that we're going to lose it. Remember, anything that is for you is going to keep coming back for you, even if you ignore it, because it's given you time and time again what you're here to experience. And eventually you will, even when you feel like, now I chose it. Yeah, but in truth, it's all the choicelessness. So choice falls into that illusion of choicelessness too. Or choice is the illusion that is within the truth of choicelessness. That's what I was trying to say. So in my case, what do I need to learn to accept? And in your case, if you look at your body graph, some of the points will actually apply to you too, because we're looking at the surface level, but the surface level is filled with knowledge that can really, how to say this, release us, free us from this illusion that we gotta be something that we're not. So I look at this, I see that this person like me, been making all these promises in life, cannot keep a promise for my life. So stop making promises. I do not make New Year's resolutions. Not anymore. Not anymore. When somebody says, hey, we should do this, I feel the pressure. I feel the conditioning, the lifetime of conditioning where it's like, just say it this time, you can do it. It feels like I can do it. But then later on, and then it hits you again and again and again. Okay, I accept my limitation that I have a completely open emotional solar plexus center. So that means that if anybody that comes around me or the transit, that I have absolutely no control of the wave that I, on a chemistry level, will take into my body. Absolutely no choice. And it's funny how, I've had these discussions with some people around me when awareness is taken as something that you can, as a doership. People, because we're so much in the identified with our roles, with our, movement, with our life, with our body, that we think we are the doers. That's why the whole thing of choicelessness for most people doesn't make sense. So when a person says to me, I've had this discussion, like, why don't you have the awareness when you say that I have an open emotional center and so you don't get emotional? What? Wait, awareness. Awareness simply means I am aware of what is happening. Okay, so at most I can say I am aware that I have an open, completely open emotional solar plexus center. That means I amplify everybody else's emotional wave who come into my field, or if it's in the transit already. That's it. That's awareness. Is not that I can control the emotional wave as a non-emotional person. I have no control of it. And if I was an emotional person, I still wouldn't have any control, because an emotional person has their own specific emotional wave, or waves if you have many gates or channels defined there. And you're, from day one, from the first breath, you are already in this wave, and the wave does not stop until you leave the body. So again, where's the control? Remember, I talked about this last time. We have a gate of control. So this is one of the major conditioning sources, 4521, the channel of the materialist, the tribal head, the president, the CEOs of the company who control. And then because we see that in the world, and we think that we can also have control, not realizing that it's just part of the matrix to have a code of control. So where we think we control, there is no control. Awareness is just, I'm aware of what is. And even in that, I'm limited in my awareness because we have our own set box. Now we come just a little touch on the arrows. This is advanced stuff for human design, all right? That's why I'm saying I'm just giving you some bits in here and there. What the type to understand is for the body: generator, manifestor, projector, reflector. The variables, what we call these arrows, there's a left and there's a right. Now, if you look at it from, like a actual schematic point of view, where do we have that? Here, right here. So we have 16 variables, 16 variable matrix. So you see this one, all the arrows point to the right. And this is another video when we go deeper. And then here you have all the arrows point to the left. Now, this is beyond type. This is for our awareness. So our awareness cognition architecture, the box, is different. Like for me, I cannot for the life of me be strategic. That's why when I do these videos, if I try to be strategic and be like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, that, I get confused. I forget things. I may mix things up, or actually even worse, I may miss the thing that wanted to come out of me naturally, but couldn't because I pre-planned it, which was not for me. Again, accepting my limitation. I am not a left being. I am a right being. I am not here to be strategic. I am here to be receptive, simply receiving and surrendering to it. I'm not here to be focused on one thing. I am peripheral. And you see that from the way I speak to you. I speak about this, I speak about that. It may almost feel a bit confusing if it's not correct for you. And I'm not here to be active in my environment. I'm not here to be, in a way, I'm here to basically watch the movie. And have I fully fallen into place? Of course not. I also accept my limitation of 40 years of conditioning. And only now I'm starting to have the awareness, oh, it's okay for me not to be like others. Because you see that we are diametrically so different, the left beings and the right beings, especially if you have all the arrows pointing to the left. This is basically in our evolutionary cycle. This is basically the humans before us. And we're moving by 2027 to this place right here, where the new humans that are born, they are right beings. They have no ability to even be strategic. That was what was the seven-centered being up until 1781, and we mutated to the nine-centered being. And then a whole new set of variable matrix opened up for us, where now we have all kinds of limited editions. So when you add this to your type recognition, now you understand that yes, you and I may be the same family of type, generator, but you may be deep into the left upper corner, which makes you very strategic, very focused, very active, which is part of how the world works now. And it seems so natural for left beings. If you really understood it, this is your world for now. So you're about survival. You're about, okay, what are we going to do tomorrow? How are we going to take care of this tomorrow? That's a left being's world, while the right being almost feels and looks like they're dysfunctional. Autism is like the, how to say this, the ra'uruhu, and I know he doesn't mean it in a negative way. He sort of calls them like failed mutations of what's to come in 2027. And I understand what he means, but they are mostly either right beings or completely, in some studies that Ra'uruhu and I think his sisters in Germany did with autistic children, that most of them actually have a completely open solar plexus center or one or two hanging gates. So it's not defined. So if you have a right being like myself and a completely open solar plexus, guess what? I am deeply receptive to what is in my surroundings. So it is very important for me to be correct with the people that I associate with, because I will otherwise pick up their emotional waves and I will identify with it, that even though I have the awareness of seeing this, but unless I'm actually following my strategy and inner authority, unless that correctness is embodied with my body, embodiment, right? I would continue to be around people that will amplify my solar plexus, and I will be hit with those emotional waves that I will amplify twice as much and have emotional outbursts that I've been having all my life. And not knowing why, because alone I don't have these things. So, what is this now? Do I start blaming others? No, it's only about being correct. And it's not about even avoiding the emotional waves, because that is where the passion, where the desire, where the sensitivity, where the emotions of humanity, being human, come out. We're here to experience that. I'm lucky that I have a completely open solar plexus, so I'm not fixed to one particular wave. I can experience all of it and have the possibility of experiencing spirit awareness, which is deep, deep, deep below the emotional waves. This is the gift that we can all access, regardless of being defined or open solar plexus, all of us. But if we only don't take the emotional waves personally and understand that we have no control, when it hits, it hits. You know, if you're aware enough and you have an open solar plexus like half of humanity, go after the end of the day, go into some nature, ground yourself, or at least before you go to sleep, be by yourself for a little while. If you want to call it meditation, you want to call it contemplation, just be and let the energies basically come off of you, so you don't carry that into your dream world and then into the next days. I'm a completely quad right. Basically, I'm not even here yet. Imagine living a life as an adult by having these truths as a limited version that I can do nothing about. I can either accept it, which is possible path for transcendence, and that transcendence doesn't mean holier than thou. It just means me accepting me, that leads to self-love. But this is where it becomes a challenge, because we talk about the matrix. The human design system is the mechanics of the matrix, the mechanics of the Maya, as Ra'uruhu himself would say. If you ever seen the movie Matrix, it seems like everyone against you when you start unplugging, and then we think it's their fault and they're not awake. No, no, no. I love this sentence that Ra'uruhu would say, so we don't get into this sort of vanity that we are more special or more unique. There is no more special. You're just unique, and you are one of the unique possibilities. He would say, and I love this, stupid before enlightenment and stupid after enlightenment. And it once again takes us to what? To choicelessness. Choicelessness. The movie will be what it will be. Whether you embody human design or you don't, or you live in life in another way, it will be what it will be. The only thing we can do here is simply have the awareness and watch our movie. But strategy and inner authority takes away the pressure of having to figure out what to do, where to do it, who to do it with, today, tomorrow, or any other day. It's your decision making tool, decision making. And Here's where we come to the realization of life is a duality. Yeah, we hear body, mind, spirit, but in the human design system, we have two. We'll leave the third mystical secret for now, but we have two crystals of consciousness. Everybody has two crystals of consciousness. Every animate form, animate meaning animals too, that is moving, even plants, okay, have two crystals of consciousness. One is our personality crystal, who we think we are. So the blackness in your chart, the right side usually, that is the personality that then has the mind through which to experience and see things and sense things and all of that. But then we have the design crystal, which makes the body. So to realize that you are actually now experiencing a dualistic life, the this and that, the body and the mind. Leave spirit for now. Spirit awareness is 2027, and that is going to be on the basically global level. Don't be reaching for anything. You are a perfect, limited, unique version of yourself. There is nothing out there. And when you say we are two crystals of consciousness, this is the two crystals of consciousness that banged into each other, that we call the Big Bang, that created our known universes. Okay? And it all is the one infinite creator. So, what does that make you, I, and everybody else, dear one? Some things don't need to be said. And for whomever this is for, you get it. And even those that don't get it, guess what? They are that too. You know? Whether we have unplugged or still plugged in, we are all that too. So this gives a sense of ease. I don't need to save anybody. We even have the energy of the prophet in our 64 I Ching gates in the body graph. Of course we do. But guess what? That time is ending, gone. We either stand our own inner authority that will align us with the people and environments that is correct for us, or there is no better and worse. There's just life. If you're drawn into this, this is your way of life. If you're drawn into something, that is for now your way of life. We tend to lose ourselves in the details of this, that, what can I do? What should I do? What should I be? What can I be? No. Life is what it is. All we can do is breathe, especially if you are an all right being like myself, accepting your limitation, understanding that the people who are for me, they will come. And then I am ready to respond because I have my strategy and inner authority, which I recognize now. When I hear this, such a beautiful, magnificent, sacred sound for a generator, that is beyond mind. Mind has no decision making authority. Mind is here only to enjoy the ride of the body through this time and space. And then when the body has had enough, then the body goes back to earth and our mind dissolves. We go back into our personality crystal. We go back into our personality crystal bundle. There's millions and trillions of them. And then we have another experience somewhere else. But right now, we are here. And ain't no better place to be than now, because in truth, all there is now. while the now is being experienced through this duality, which is beautiful. Strategy and inner authority gives you the way where you don't have to figure out through your mind which one. Leave your mind for analyzing, for researching, for weighing things, but decision making, strategy and inner authority. And let life take you where it's supposed to take you. If you're here to fight and strategy and authority says fight, God damn it, fight. And if you're here to have relationships with 1,000 women and every single time your strategy and authority says, go enjoy it. And if that gives you some sort of illnesses that you're supposed to have, that's what you're here to have. No right and wrong, just correctness for you. Enjoy your limited edition because that's the only thing you're getting. And even that's temporary. So why not take full advantage of this? This is not to say go reach for something. This is just to say that be in acceptance of what you are. Just love yourself. Follow your strategy and inner authority. Until next time, have a blessed new year. The true new year starts 21st of January. Take care, everybody.